Season 2 of the Pat and JT podcast.
Oh man, I'm here at last. The first time, always gonna be the best. Come on!
Exclusively on the Hurrdat Media Network.
All right.
It's Pat and JT, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or 402-403-9478. Texts coming in right and left about many things, including, what was it, 6 weeks ago? Has it been a month since we've had Dana in? Dana Camp.
It's a month?
It's a month.
And we asked last time for people to send in their birthdays, names and birthdays, and you would kind of
Grab a handful
them.
and
Little snapshots.
Take a look at them and see what you can tell about.
Because what can you tell by somebody's birthday if somebody hasn't heard the previous episode?
Like their most important things come from that. So their life path, which is their purpose, what brings them joy when they fulfill it, their attitude that they live out that life path with, and then their gift, what is the background from their actual
And each
day.
one, like the month, the day, and the year contribute to the overall picture,
So
right?
a life path is the combination of the entire birthday, and then the attitude is the month and day, and then the day is like the gift. So each one represents an aspect of a person.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Interesting.
did we do Nick's birthday before?
I think we
Or was that-
touched on it. When's your birthday, Nick? He's. I'm
Here,
just
put
going to
your
say right now
headset
he's
on there, buddy.
trolling around in here, kind of loitering in the studio. So there you go. There
Hello.
you are. Hi.
Hello. Microphone is on. Jill is getting a little magazine feature
Okay,
up first. So
shush.
everyone
Yes.
clap for Jill. Yes.
He's in
yeah,
here.
thank you. I wasn't expecting the claps. Thank you. Thank
He's
you for
our
actually
resident
clapping.
photographer.
Yeah. I'm not a very good
Yeah.
photographer, but here I am with the camera in my hands trying to get a picture of Jill. My
You know why?
birthday,
Because you're free.
Yeah, exactly. The price is right.
The price is
Come on
right.
down.
He is bought and paid for.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see what Nick's motivation is. So what's your birthday?
October 4th. Do you need the year too?
Yeah.
1995.
Good
Oh
Lord.
my God.
Yeah, so my half
He
birthday.
could be yours, Pat.
He could be mine as well.
You totally could.
Yeah.
He could be mine as my kid's 94. So yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Good
Yeah.
Lord.
All right.
So my half birthday was on April 4th a couple
Your
weeks ago,
half
and I was
birthday.
expecting some sort of party.
What's a half birthday? Oh, you're 6
Don't you
months.
remember when you
yeah,
were 12 and a half?
Yeah.
No.
And it came and went, and there was no Pat and JT surprise birthday. party. Yeah, maybe
next
yeah.
year. Half birthdays are off my radar, but they will be on my
Yeah.
radar from now on.
Maybe 3/4 of birthday. We're about
Yeah.
2 months to the 3/4.
Nick walked in on me peeing today, so you can count that as your
That
happy
is
birthday
true. You
in
didn't
the
lock
office.
the door?
He didn't
I
lock
never
the door.
locked the door.
Oh, my
You're lucky I
God.
shut the door.
Good to know.
Yeah,
But I would think we're such a small office. If the door's shut, the door's never just open.
It shouldn't be.
No,
The door
well-
shouldn't be all the way. I hate when you walk in the office and the door's wide open. You look right at the toilet.
I hate. Well, it's
so I
it's
always
weird.
pull the door shut so it's just open a crack.
Right, and I get that. But if the door's shut all the way, I assume somebody's in there.
That's true.
And it was completely shut, and then Nick walks in and he goes,
But
"You
if
don't
it's-
lock." I never lock the door. Just a pro
man.
tip.
I would rather there be a crack in the door than walk in
there
and
was
see
there
the
was a
crack.
there was a crack.
Like,
Yeah,
I don't
you're
want to
right.
see the crack.
He almost did see the crack. But
Oh
he did.
my
did.
God. Oh my God.
Anyway, so that's a happy birthday.
Oh,
I can't believe
There's your gift.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Speaking
yeah.
of which, okay, so go ahead. What do you got for him?
Yeah, back to Nick's birthday.
Back to his
Yes,
birthday.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
so this conversation works very well for him because he's got a 5 attitude. The 5 is like the squirrel. They are the multitaskers of the world. They have every tab in the universe open in their head.
That's totally
And they are
him.
constantly accessing things. Their attention can change from thing to thing.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
he's always looking the next shiny thing, whatever. Oh, what's that? What's that? What's that?
Oh my God.
So he's always interested in the next thing.
Yeah.
So he's very progressive. And his gift is the 4, which is a conflict sometimes for that 5 energy. So he has a tug of war going on inside of him. So his 4 wants the structure, wants the predictability, wants that solid foundation.
This is
but
true.
the 5 doesn't want to be told how to have it.
Dog. Right? You want structure, but you don't want restriction.
Yes.
Right?
So the
Is that
5
it?
is the
Okay.
freedom seeker, and the 4 is all about needing to feel safe.
Wow.
Right. So
That's
they're
gonna
also
be-
the teacher. He learns things so fast. He just picks things up really, really quickly. And then he can use those. He expands on those. So, but for him, like learning is really important for him because it's a way of creating safety. So you know what's coming. You always know what's coming kind of thing. But he's also off the charts intuitive as well. As long as he doesn't get in conflict with that. The 4 is very earth. It's very all about rules here, about following the directions until they don't match what he knows is right because he's a very high moral compass.
Wow.
He knows when he meets somebody, he knows when they're lying. He knows immediately whether he trusts them.
The BS meter is really
yeah,
good.
he's got a really good BS meter. What
Very
do you
good
think
to
about
know.
that, Nick?
I would agree. Spot on. Spot on, Dana. So what's the number based on? Like birth month and day?
Your
4?
life path is the month, day, and year all
Okay.
together. So you add them all together, and then you reduce
That's where we
them.
got it.
And you're actually a Master 11,
What?
which is a leader here to teach others to lead through your loving example.
Wow, that's a poster.
In your loving, when you're in your loving, like when you're in your,
Yeah.
so everything is based on where our heart is. If our heart is in a fearful place, then like say if Nick is in a fearful place and he's making decisions from fear, the need to be approved of, the need for control, judgment, right? Those are like the basis of, you're in a fearful place when you're going from there.
Right.
So if those are motivating him, he'd be more of an he's smarter than you. He'd be in a very arrogant place. And he would be more of a bully
Okay.
than an inspirer.
Wow. That's a fine line. You think about that. I mean, really, it's like you can go too far one way and you're a bully,
It's really, they're very separate actually,
but it's kind of,
because one comes from a loving place and one comes from a fearful place.
yeah.
So I guess if you were talking to somebody and they initially were in a great place, but then you said something that triggered their security, they might flip. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's like a roller coaster. Like people go in and out of fear. It's just part of being human.
Exactly.
It's our mood swings.
exactly. Good to know. Good to know. All right. Good enough. All right. So who do you have first in the pile?
Okay, so
We'll go just first names.
we're just going to go first names and maybe month and day, just so that they know it's them.
That'll work.
That's
but
fine.
not the full name, just for privacy
Not the
reasons.
full name,
For
right?
sure.
And we won't publicize their years.
Yeah.
Right. So the first one in my pile's Abby on 410.
Very nice.
Okay.
So Abby's a natural leader. She also she's a 5 life path and a 5 attitude. She does not like to be told what to do. She spends a lot of time in her head thinking, and it's important for her to know that she doesn't have ADHD.
Wow.
Because a lot of people get accused of that when they have 5 energy, when it's really that you just have every tab in the universe open.
Exactly.
Right? So your attention you're actually gifted in multitasking, and that you should know that.
So it's not always a disorder.
No.
Okay.
In fact, I don't think anything is. I think everything that we are diagnosed with is actually probably a byproduct of our frequency. Because what I'm reading numbers, all I'm really reading is your frequency.
Right.
I'm reading your blueprint, the energy that you came here to experience your journey through. So your journey and your frequencies are going to attract those experiences that you asked to have.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
Makes sense.
When I look at Abby's chart, she can be a very heart-centered 5. Her contributing numbers that create her 5 are the 3 and the 2. So she can actually become quite the chameleon and become whoever's in front of her.
Wow.
She can also be attracted to people who are in chaos because she has that natural counselor energy to her, and she wants to create harmony. So she has to make sure she's not trying to write other people's stories or taking what they're doing personal. Like say she gives them advice and they don't follow it. It's like not a personal thing for her.
Right.
She has to remember that they have their own free will.
Right.
So not to take it personal. And she leans towards taking it personal. She has that perfectionist that runs in the background for her. So
Okay, that's
it's
cool.
important
That's
for her to know nothing is personal.
Got it.
It's always projection.
Okay. Very good.
Okay. So that's a little bit about Abby.
Thanks, Abby.
Yeah. Mary Jo, 316 is my next one. Mary Jo is an incredibly intuitive person who just has to learn to listen to her inner guidance. She has a very big heart. She leads with trying to create harmony, but she's also very intuitive. So as long as she knows who she is,
Yeah.
she's going to have an easier time knowing what's hers and what's not hers to fix. Right? She tends to want to help people. She also has this tug of war inside of her because her attitude is that leader, but her life path is that 9, which is the humanitarian, and that humanitarian wants to save the world.
Right.
So they can get overwhelmed, especially with that perfectionist attitude. She can become very overwhelmed with other people's problems. She needs to learn to listen to that intuition though, because she's rocking a really strong 7. Both in her contributing for her life path 9 and her birthday. So that 7 energy they came here already downloaded. They already know things without having to figure out why.
Wow.
So
Would that be somebody that people refer to as an old soul?
well, the 9 is definitely
right?
I mean, everyone can be an old soul. Like there's no.
So it's like, you meet some little kid sometimes and you're just like, oh my God, you're so together. It's just like, it's like eerie. It's like,
Little kids tend to be tapped into their heart still.
right.
So
That's
they tend to
true.
be very heart-centered until we do something to beat it out of them.
Yeah.
So until we keep repeatedly telling them that their instincts are wrong when they're not wrong, we're just trying to assimilate you into the collective thought processes so that we can feel safe. We always worry about our kids. We don't trust them to follow their own hearts because we were taught not to trust and follow our own.
What's interesting? A conversation that we kind of tapped on with Rihanna a little bit was talking about boys don't cry. The whole boys don't cry.
Yeah.
And there's that fine line of small children when they get hurt, they sometimes cry out because it's attention. And so you don't want to go down the road of giving them attention just because they cried out because they fear, I fell down. I better get some attention. But you also don't want to suppress and say, boys don't cry.
Yeah, don't minimize.
Right? It's just like to continue on and not. It really is a fine line because you want them to not do it as attention seeking, but you don't want to ignore if it really is hurt.
And I just posted about this attention seeking. Is it attention seeking or it is connection seeking?
Yeah. Okay.
That's
if somebody doesn't,
a unique differentiation.
Yeah, because think about somebody who is attention seeking.
Yeah.
Right? What do they really want?
That's probably. I've got a couple of people in mind in particular that seem to want to get some attention online.
Imagine if their needs were met.
And I'm wondering how they're not. You know what
right.
right?
Like when's enough?
It's like it appears to me.
That's the fine line. Now that's the fine line because everyone should be focusing on their best version of them, right? So we can't get lost in service to other people. Children are different.
Yeah.
Children are not the same as adults who have lost their way, even though we're really we should really be looking at everyone from a place of this is their inner child reaching out, right? Like, wow. But at what point is it your responsibility?
Yeah.
Because it's not, right? It's not our job unless we're a parent. Then we're then we are. It is our job. A teacher, a parent, somebody who's literally taken on that role for children.
Yeah. That's interesting because it is. It's just kind of because we kind of touched on that yesterday, and I was thinking about that because it's like, man, you want to tell them, and like you said, are they seeking attention for a reason, or is it just a natural, a learned response where they know that they can then?
And are we projecting?
Yeah.
Because every one of us, regardless of what role we're playing for somebody, is projecting and trying to get the other person to mirror our frequency, right? We're always trying to get someone to validate our frequency for us. So if you have, say, a very cerebral parent and you're a very heart-centered kid and you have all these feelings and they're like, stop crying, right?
True.
And and the kid's like... I don't know what to do. Like, I don't want to disappoint my parent, but this is not how I feel inside, right?
Right. That's a good point.
And then how many of us have been raised? Because, I mean, when you look at the generations, like how they're influenced, right?
Yeah.
How they've influenced how we treat our kids. Like, it hasn't been very many generations. Like Joe Rogan made this totally great observation on one of his podcasts.
He nails it sometimes.
We're only 4 generations from shooting people in the street. Like, can we really be real about this? Like, we're 4 generations from where we're shooting each other. Yeah. I mean, like, it takes time for us to evolve. But, like, at what point do we start letting go of some of these survival instincts that aren't necessary anymore?
There's also that generational shift where the pendulum swings far the other way. So you had really super strict parents who have very lenient children who became lenient parents, I should say, who now have very strict children or children that were raised lenient and now they're very strict.
I was to be seen and not heard.
And you are like,
and I am
live and let live.
I am the 3. I'm the actress. Like I can be dramatic. I'm a natural like I'm always talking.
Yeah.
It's what I do. So to be seen and not heard, or to sit still,
The opposite of what you
please
really
help
are.
me.
Oh my
Like
gosh.
that was so hard. And so like as an adult,
were busting
I'm
out.
still like traumatized from that. I'm like, I'm always trying to peel off that, I'm allowed to be who I am. And sometimes it's hard for me to step into the spotlight of things because I've been taught to sit down and be quiet.
Yeah.
So I used to call it squishing my happy because it felt like I always had someone putting their thumb on my forehead and like holding down my joy, right? So it's like, I'm not allowed to be me, but that's kind of what we do when we choose our families.
That's the name of today's podcast, by the way, Squishing My Happy.
There
Just
you
write
go.
that down.
Jot that down,
Forget it.
Pat. He's
I
got to
am.
get his whiteboard out and
Sorry.
jot that down.
Carl Rove over here.
Never, kind of not.
Kind of.
So when you're a kid, your parents are they're in their own place. We're all souls on journeys, right? If you can pause and not see people with all the labels on them, not the mom or the dad or the son or the daughter, and the expectations that we create for those labels, right?
And exactly, because
But
they're
a soul
trying
on
to
a
fulfill
journey,
a role, right?
Like when we are a soul and we say, "Hey, we're going to go to Earth, and I want to experience these things," we've asked for the roller coaster ride. We came to experience the fear and the love of that frequency, right? So we typically pick people. Our families tend to be the people who trigger us the most,
That's true.
and they know where all our buttons are.
Exactly.
That is
And
very
so when you're a kid, your soul might have picked parents that were opposites of you just for that experience. And then we spend our life peeling off the things that actually aren't us
Yeah.
to get to who we really are.
That's very
That is
interesting.
right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what
Yeah.
numerology does. It really helps us look at the frequencies of ourselves and each other so that we can be understanding, so that we can go,
And
that's why that person's like that.
Right.
And not take it personal.
Validate the feeling some people have inside.
Yes.
Like when they hear, that's why I feel like that. Or that's exactly how I feel. Like when she was calling you the squirrel, you feel like the squirrel.
Yeah.
But you do like structure, but you also are just kind of like you're also, because for your age, I mean, seriously, you're young and you've figured things out.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
You know what
that.
I mean?
Well,
and
thank you. That
That's
means a
why
lot.
you're in
Say
this
pump the
office.
brakes on the compliments here.
Yeah,
for a second.
yeah,
Just slow down just a little
Taking
bit.
that one straight to the bank.
Right. It's just, let's slow roll these.
Yeah. Anything else, Pat? Do you want to chime in?
I'll save it for the next episode.
Remember when I was, in that podcast and you guys validated all the gifts I bring to the table?
Yes.
Can we modify
Right.
those now, please?
Yes, right.
Can we put that into a check?
Yeah.
What? Not to put you on the spot, but what is Emmy's birthday?
Oh,
Your girlfriend. So let's see if
July 16th,
Okay.
1996. 1997.
Good Lord.
1997. Oh my
So she's a 5'2",
Okay.
but she's a different one. So she literally has the need to feel safe built into her 5, whereas your 5's a little different. Your 5 is more spontaneous. Her 5 wants a little structure behind her spontaneity.
Yeah.
So you're like, let's go to Vegas, and she's like, let's plan it.
Yeah, that is, no, we
So
have a trip coming up.
You're
That's
both
exactly-
5s, but she has these extra needs because she has influencers. So like her influencers are 1 and 4. So leadership and structure, right? And then the adventure.
Yeah.
Right? So she has some influencing frequencies this is why everyone is so unique. Like numerology is 1 through 9.
Yeah.
But what are your influencers? Because not everybody's just a 9. Like they're a 4-5-9 or a 3-6-9 or a 1-8-9.
It's interesting you say that too. The other night I did not watch. Which award show was on the other night?
Oscars.
The Oscars. Yeah, I didn't watch it, but I heard a couple of the speeches, and in particular was one of them. And I may be wrong. I thought it was Tyler Perry, but it may be wrong. But it was one, though, I think it was for the musical score of something. But anyway, made the mention of there are 12 notes. Everybody has the same 12 notes. But then you've got all this music that's been created by those 12 notes.
Same as this.
That's exactly the same thing.
Same.
So you've got
Absolutely.
millions of variations.
You're your
of
own
songs
melody.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're all different.
Yeah.
Just 9 numbers.
Yeah,
So she's also very intuitive, but she has a tug of war in that she wants to be very grounded in this reality, and she wants to feel safe here. But then she also has this knowing if she listens to it. It's a tug-of-war between her head and her gut. If she follows her gut, she'll be right every time. But the rules on Earth confuse her because, well, this is how I have to do it to feel safe, to be accepted, to fit in. And then she has that 5 that doesn't want to be told what to do. She can feel very polarized. And then she'll have this need to like retreat where she just needs to be left alone.
Yeah.
And she needs that quiet to like reflect and clear and like just be left alone. She can only do so much extroverting before she needs like a down.
Recharge.
She needs downtime.
Absolutely. Dana, have you seen the new Pixar movie Soul?
Yes, I have.
What's your thought on that, and especially how that like communicates like what souls are?
I feel like TV and movies are so I'm a Marvel fan too. Like I love all the superhero stuff. Like I almost stood up in Wonder Woman and said, "Do you know what you just saw?"
Oh my gosh.
I was like, "She's awake." Wonder Woman is a light worker.
Right? A light, exactly.
It's about love.
That
I was just like, "Do you know?" I was like so excited.
Everybody's like, sit down, lady. We can't hear what they're saying.
But you're right. And that kind of surprised me in that movie too, because I would not have seen that had I not known you and Rihanna.
At the very end, when she's fighting that battle, at the very end against Hades, I think. I think it's like a mythic guy, but like he's like so powerful, and he was creating the world war, right? He was behind it all, and he was pretending to be a good guy, but he was like stoking all the fires for war because he's like the god of war. I can't remember which one he is, but Wonder Woman was like
You're right.
He was trying to turn her to his side, like they're not worth it. Humanity's not worth it, and she's like, love, and she hits those
whatever
wrists together, and I'm like, like screaming, and she even says like a specific line. And I can't think of the quote, but I have shared. I made a meme for that quote. I like threw Wonder Woman on there, and I was like, this is what she said, and I was like,
see. I have been validated by Wonder Woman,
but it's in all the Marvels. Yeah. The most amazing character has to be. Oh gosh, of course I go blank right when he's the villain in the big war, the Infinity Wars. Gosh, what is
with
his
the
name?
stones?
What is his name? Can't think of his name.
He
I'm
is
the fact checker. Loki.
No. Loki's.
I know nothing about any of these.
I do. Loki is. Gosh, why is my brain not working? He's someone's brother. He's Thor's brother. He's a naughty little guy too, but no, this guy.
He's a naughty little guy.
Let's see who we got. Thanos.
Okay. So Thanos, he has this vision for everything, right? He's not a discompassionate person. He just has this vision of what it's supposed to be, and he has such a mission on it. Like I had such weird feelings about him because, like in his mind, he thought he was doing the right thing for everyone. He just didn't have, it's not his place to do it for anyone. He can't write other people's stories, right? He's trying to write this story. He had genuinely good intentions behind decimating half the population of the universe.
But don't you know, to a much lesser degree, we know people like that, right? That they think they should take care of this.
It's their perception.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
And in his perception, he was heart-centered in his perception. It didn't make it okay for other people's stories. Right? There's a lot of people who think they're doing the right thing for other people.
And they don't see the damage that they're doing.
It's not their job.
They're causing.
It's not their job.
Place. Like it might be it is, honestly. Thank you for trying. Thank you. Appreciate the sentiment, but don't.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Not your place, dude. Not your place. This isn't your place. But it's what's for everyone. But it's not your job to decide that.
No, that's the key. When anybody says this is the best thing for humanity, it's like, but that's not you. You weren't voted that.
Right.
We didn't vote you in.
Yep.
Well, even when we do vote somebody in, and then they take
liberties,
some twisted liberties with the power they've been given, we're like, oh crap, it's Thanos.
It's crap, it's Thanos.
Oh,
Gosh,
crap.
maybe
That's
that's the name of it. Oh crap, it's Thanos. Just in case, that could be the name of the podcast.
That could
whiteboard.
be AKA crap, it's Thanos.
Maybe like a subtitle.
Squish my joy, AKA crap, it's Thanos.
It's actually squishing my happy.
Squishing my happy, whatever.
Squishing my joy is a video that I saw once.
I don't even know.
So it's really it's really
comment on
fascinating how the writers are very aware and they slip these themes that are really like when people say synchronicities or they see these things in the back. I'm like, most people go and they're like, yeah, kick butt.
But see,
and I'm like, oh my God, did you really? But did you see like what the writers were like sneaking in there?
And that's where the conspiracy theories come, because that's where people look at you sideways when you start saying, no, the messaging that was in that. Did you not see
the
blah, 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 blah.
symbolism?
The symbolism that was in that. You get to the real, like regular movies, and I just heard a great breakdown of Eyes Wide Shut. And the whole Stanley Kubrick and that whole deal that was wrapped. Oh my God.
I've never been more angry watching a movie than that one because I'm like, okay, this is going to culminate. This is going to culminate. This is going to culminate. I'm not wasting hours of my life. This is going to have like some big thing at the end. And then it ended. I was like,
that's it.
I am very angry.
Yeah. And there was a lot.
That was
in
my life
movie
I spent there.
That was crazy. But and then you start looking and digging through it, and it's like they were telling you what's going on in Hollywood. It was like that's what the whole movie represented and symbolized. And the same thing with the Marvel movies and everything else. There's all that. Even Looney Tunes cartoons, for God's sake, has the symbolism and has the language that it's adult humor, goes over the heads of kids, but it's funny, because of the characters, so they don't really realize. Yeah. Yes.
Yep. If you look, if you are aware, if you're paying attention, you will see it. It's Hollywood throws it in everything.
Never saw a thing until I met you guys.
Sorry.
She's awake. She's awake.
Sprinkled some dust on her and woke her up.
Pixie dust all around.
The opposite of sleepy dust.
Right.
Wakey dust.
I am seeing everything, and every time I start a story, Pat's like, "Oh God,
Here we go. Here we go.
All right, moving on. Who do you got next?
So we did Abby. Okay, we did a little Abby. We did.
Yes.
We did a little. I can't remember. I think we did a little Mary Jo. Seriously. Okay, so my squirrel is in my personality. So he talked about soul. I totally went squirrel off on this other like little tangent.
I don't remember how much of Mary Jo we did.
Okay, so Mary Jo, very intuitive, heart-centered, needs to make sure she listens to her gut when it comes to her heart-centeredness. And then the tug-of-war for Mary Jo, I hope she listened this far. She didn't even finish what she was saying about me.
Mary Jo out.
Thanos.
So her life path is that humanitarian, but she has that one leadership. Now, if you look at the numbers 1 through 9, 1 and 9 are on the opposite ends of that, but they're both leaders. The 1 is a leader, here to be seen as a leader. The 9 is a natural leader. They don't even necessarily care if anybody gives them credit. But the 9 already knows what's important. So each number builds off the last number's knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? So the 9 has the knowledge of every number that came before it, which is why it's the
Ooh,
humanitarian.
that's interesting.
Now, again, I want to point out, that doesn't mean that any of them are better than the other.
Right.
Because everybody has these frequencies on purpose for the different experiences of the combination. So she's got a 1 attitude, but a 9 life path.
Wow.
So people might not recognize what she's doing is for the bigger picture, right?
Okay.
So she's being a leader, but she might be really direct about it, and she might have a harder time with people understanding that her motivation was heart-centered, right?
Right.
And she sees things, she understands things, like she's highly intuitive. So she's picking up on things and she's pointing things out, and they're not always well received per se.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
But she's very intuitive. Let your intuition guide your heart is the best knowledge I can give you. And she spends a lot of time in her head. So it's important for her to also be around water, take lots of salt baths, be in nature. Water is going to be like church for her soul.
I feel like I know her.
Well, because you're a 7 too.
I'm just like I'm feeling a lot of the same stuff there.
But her tug of war would be in that she wants the credit for the things that she does, but then she's the humility, the humbleness that comes with the 9. Yeah. She has a hard time asking for what she wants. She just waits for somebody to notice how much she's given. Very generous heart. So
yeah, very nice. Thank you for writing.
She has to ask.
That's
people won't know. You come across so strong that people are not going to know you're drowning. And you don't ever look like you're drowning because you don't let people see you drowning. No. You have to tell people when you need them.
I totally know her.
Yeah.
Totally. hate to say it. Totally know her. Okay.
So the next person I've got is Danielle on 8/16. She is everyone's mom. She is the mom energy. So she is the nurturer, the healer, the queen, the mother. She's got the 6 for the life path and the attitude. So what you see is what you get with her.
Like that.
So for her, so the polarity for her is going to be in when she's in her fear, think of her as the red queen.
Ooh.
Off with their heads. I demand I demand you respect me, versus when she's in her loving aspects of it, she is that loving, benevolent queen who cares for her whole village, right? She's thinking of others. She's thinking of the big picture. She's anticipating needs. She's incredible at anticipating needs because her birthday is that 16. So her 7 that comes from that is influenced by that leadership and that nurturer. So that 6 energy for her, it wouldn't surprise me if she was in some kind of field where she's caring for others, healthcare or childcare, or somewhere where she's got an impact where she can take care of people. If 6s don't have children of their own, you will find them in jobs where they are surrounded by people to care for.
Wow.
Whether it's pets or being a teacher or a preschool. I have a friend who is like super strong 6 energy. She owns a preschool. She wants nothing to do with having her own children.
Isn't that still?
But
It's like that doesn't make any sense.
But she spent her whole life taking care of kids.
That's what she loves to do. That.
She's fulfilling that need to nurture.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So what's her name?
This is Danielle.
Danielle. So Danielle, I'd be interested to know what she does for a living. So
I
message
know.
us, text us, and let us know what you do, and see.
Yeah.
And anybody that we're reading birthdays for, how close? Which I'm sure you nailed it.
Exactly.
Dana.
Just
But
kind of curious, or what you learned,
So
or what you already knew. Right?
Yeah.
something interesting about her is that her contributing numbers for her 6 are the 4 and the 2 for her life path, and then the 2 and the 4 for her attitude. So they're flipped. So her attitude leads with the harmony, then with the teacher energy. But then her life path leads with the teacher and then creates the harmony. So with her, it's going to matter where her boundaries are. How many times has she tried to teach you something? So think about it like this. If the 4 energy and a 6 energy were watching children together, and you saw, they both said, hey, don't run or you'll slip on the gravel and get hurt, right? Mm-hmm. And they both said it. And then, of course, kids are going to play. And one runs and slips and cuts their knee. And then the 4 energy, the teacher would be like, that's what I told you would happen. Go clean up your knee, right? But the 6 energy would say, that's what I told you would happen, but come here and let me help you.
There you go.
Right? So that nurturer would come in where the teacher is more strict and black and white. That nurturer aspect is more about taking care of, right? It's not that the teacher can't be compassionate. I'm not trying to say that. That's because when I talk to 4s can be very black and white. They want things to be literal. And I just have to remind them that this is not literal. You are still a loving, kind, and compassionate teacher. You're not just black and white. You've got other aspects to you. But so she's very intuitive, and she tends to want to take care of others. Now, that said, if she has not created balance in her story, she feels a deficit in that area. She gives everything to everyone and doesn't let anyone give back to her, and then can feel unloved if she doesn't create that balance.
Right.
So letting people know, and you don't always have to be the rock. You don't have to always be the rock. You can let other people step into that for you. You need the nurturing as much as you give it.
Very good.
All right. The next one is Jill, and she's on 430.
Ooh, coming up.
Her gift is the 3 energy. So the 3 is what's inside. That's the don't squish my happy. That's the joy. 3 is like the Christ consciousness energy. So they always seem to be those kids that they're optimists. They see the best in people. They kind of walk around with rose-colored glasses so that they only see the best in people, right?
Glass half full all the time.
But that's something that a 3 has to learn to balance. So it's important for her because she tends to be a giver. She works really hard to create harmony and help other people as well. She can be very misunderstood, though, because she has that 7 in her attitude spot. And so if she's not an animated person, she's waiting for people to notice her again. And that 7 energy can be invisible. So when you rock that 7 in a really powerful spot, you may not know that you have to ask to be included.
Right.
Because you have that strong invisibility cloak around you until you introduce your energy. And she wants to be number 1. That's her life path. She's the 2-8/1. She's the 1. But she has that 7 attitude. So depending on how she has been nurtured and how she's grown up, that's going to determine whether or not she steps into her shine or if she feels like she's waiting for someone to notice her shine.
You just said something that made me think. We were talking this morning with one of our coworkers, and he mentioned a movie called 3 Identical Strangers. And it's triplets that were raised by 3 different families. They were adopted out, and they didn't know each other existed. Wow. And then they met each other as adults. And so they were raised in entirely different environments. Mm-hmm. Do you generally see that there's still going to be, because the movie is fascinating. It's on Amazon if you want to watch it, though, by the way. It's a documentary that was just put out a few years ago. And it is, it's fascinating because there are still so many similarities, both from the way their appearance, as in how they had their hair cut, mannerisms that they had that obviously were in their DNA, but then there were some things that were so different because of the nurturing.
Yep.
That they received.
So the self-esteem would be one of those.
Wow.
Right? Mm-hmm. This person needs to be number 1 at however they're taking care of other people. They need to be recognized for that. So that's something that this person came here. Now, I want you guys to remember, I'm reading these, but I'm only reading you this tiny little snapshot. So if this doesn't sound 100% like you, you have 4 other numbers in addition to these 3 that are hugely influential. So
and you sit down with people and you go through the whole thing.
Oh yeah, it takes an hour and a half.
Yeah.
My initial sessions are an hour and a half long because we go deep into your chart and we look at, all the things that could have been strengths and challenges for you. And we really tap into whatever, that's why it's a very interactive thing. This isn't just me. I'm not a psychic. I don't sit down and give you psychic information. I'm sitting down with you. And we're looking at, okay, what were your influences? How did you feel? Were you in more of a fearful place for this period of your life? Or were you in more of a loving environment? How were you influenced? And how did it help you thrive?
That's interesting. Is there a way, this is going to sound silly, but that you could ever reverse engineer that? As far as you see somebody, you meet somebody, and you can kind of figure out when their birthday was or what their numbers.
I can usually see, when I meet people, I do it in movies too. I watched Mad Men. I'm obsessed with Mad Men.
Love that.
It was such a triggering TV series for me when I first watched it. I almost turned it off. 5 minutes into it, I was like, "Oh, sexist grossness. Okay, I gotta go." But then I was like, I felt like my spirit guys were like, this is how you're going to learn. You're going to learn a lot about archetypes. You're going to learn a lot about people in that period of time. And that'll really help me be better at what I do when I look at, okay, somebody born in that time, somebody who was raised in that time. What is that like for them? And how did that influence how they grew up?
Isn't that crazy? I mean, because they were so good at that.
And I loved it when I took my ego out of it, when I was able just to observe them like I would anybody anywhere. I just used the characters that way. And you can see how the main character, he's totally a 7 with a 5. He's so clever and he's so smart and he catches everything and he's always a step ahead of everybody. That would be like that 5 energy. Yeah. Right? 5s are prophetic. So he can kind of see where stuff's going and he knows whether he wants to put his energy there or not. He's very clever.
That's interesting.
I love how you talk with numbers.
Right? Oh, you're like, he's a 7.
You are such a 7.
You're such a 7.
You are. Yeah, I can tell all day long you're a 4.
Don't bring that 9 in here.
Right.
Right. But I have no judgment for them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's no, dude, that's just who you are. It's cool. I'm totally fine with it. You're totally rocking that right now.
That's
but
awesome.
you can see it.
Yeah.
You can see it in people.
That's interesting.
Well, I can see it in people.
I was going to say, when you're talking about it, I'm thinking, I wonder if you can see that, if you can go backwards.
Oh, my mind never stops. I never stop. All the mind numbers in my chart, I'm always I'm
eyeing people.
The observer. I'm constantly watching, analyzing, assessing.
And seeing the similarities that you can see, people in particular types of jobs. And you'll see the similarities of the people that do this specific.
And maybe why they're thriving and why they're not.
Yep.
Okay, why are you in that job?
Like, you should not be an accountant,
Right.
or you should
Shockingly,
not be,
you'd be surprised how many people gravitate right towards what's natural for them.
Well, I
Fours,
believe
like
that.
fours tend to
Yeah.
be accountants. There's a lot of fours that are accountants because they're organized and they're structured and they like that numbers add up and
Yeah.
and they are predictable and accountable.
So that's another whole different like career day thing. You should be going to the high schools for career day.
Well, actually, you know what I did? I did a really cool prom party, like the post prom thing.
Yes.
And I had a booth and I had a line.
Oh, I bet you
I
did.
couldn't get through all of
Fun.
the kids, and like they
That
were
would be
like,
fun.
"Can you come back?" And I was like, "Yeah." But the kids lined up, and I just looked at them and looked at their numbers, and I was like, "Where are you heading? Like, where are you heading? This is something that would be natural. Does this feel good to you?" Like, it was really easy. I
That's
loved
eye-opening
it.
though, because people don't connect the dots. You know, they think they know what they like, or sometimes they're told they know what they like,
Right.
And they aren't just going intuitively
Yeah.
for it.
So I'm going to put this out there. If you have a high school student that is graduating this year,
Great idea.
my session might be a great gift for them to really get grounded in who they are so that they can make decisions about where they want to go.
That's a great
That,
idea.
that is a great idea. How do people get a hold of you?
Yes,
The quickest way is just to call or text me. If you call, please leave
your
a
number.
message because
Leave your
I don't
number.
answer all of the spams I get. Like I
Yeah.
get calls constantly from spam. So
Oh, yeah.
just leave
the
me a
worst.
message and I will get back to you. But honestly, text me is the quickest way. 402-960-0624. And just text me and we'll get you set up on the schedule. And
Yes.
I'm based out of La Vista, so I'm right off 84th there and
Nice.
near Giles. So I'm really close. I'm not that far away from anybody. Everything in
sounds
Omaha
great.
is 20 minutes.
Right? Seriously.
Right?
Yeah.
That's
so,
it.
so we'll do the rest of these next. We'll get more in,
Okay.
and we'll
Yeah.
do the rest of them next month.
Sure.
We love
can
that you're on
totally
the
do that.
schedule.
The time goes so
Yeah.
fast.
Right?
Yeah, it does,
Yes.
doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
But this has really been fun, and I like the whole Marvel thing now because now
Right.
I'm like, see,
Now you're intrigued
I'm
again.
not the only one that hears this and sees these. Now I thank you.
I could go like I could
I
do
didn't even get a
straight up
chance to
podcast
ask you.
constantly on Marvel. Like I love Marvel so much.
Before I let you go, real quick, I
okay.
got to ask. So I'm repainting my house.
Yeah.
It's white house. Going to have black shutters now. I used to have gray, and I'm painting the door. The door is going to be red.
Okay.
What does that say to you right off the bat? Red.
Well, for me, automatically for the door, it automatically made me think stay away.
Right. That's what I thought yesterday. We Googled it, and it means love. Actually, you're welcome.
It
It means
means
you're
you're
welcome to the
I
house.
like that, Jill.
right? And
The
so-
person inside
yeah.
there is spicy
There we go.
Oh,
I like that
because
too.
they're bold. They chose something really bold for like the first thing that you see when you come to their home is very bold.
It's going to
Okay.
be, I think it's going to be this one. I'm not sure. There's one that's, I've
I
got-
would go with that one because as it weathers, it's not going to look as orange as those other two.
Those two, don't they?
They're going to fade to orange if you don't use the one.
The one on the far left is the only one that looks different to me. The other two look exactly the same.
This one?
No, this one, the
this
far
one.
left.
Who says far left?
That's your
Assume-
left.
To me, those two, the outside ones look very similar to me. They look more
Isn't
orange.
that crazy? We'll post these two.
Why don't we
so
just
you
post them on Facebook and get like a super opinion,
Super
like a
opinion.
Twitter poll.
guys- So we got,
Yeah, yes.
oh, this is real red. This
bet-
is heartthrob.
Now,
scared
see,
to look.
when they're together, they don't look that way. But when they were
Yeah,
apart,
true.
they did.
Yeah,
And this is positive red. There you go.
That first one is Hollywood Raw's color.
that is.
What?
1616. That's a color hex. Yep.
Yep. See,
Yeah.
Whoa.
you might have to have
Hollywood
a trademark issue on that one. I'd be careful.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much.
Dana,
for having
you're
me.
awesome.
Dana, it was great to meet you.
Yeah, you too, Nick. Thanks.
Very nice.
And you guys get your text to us with your name, your birth date, and your
Yes.
year. Don't forget your year. And Dan will be in next month. Thank you guys for all your texts.
Pat and JT Podcast, a Hurrdat Media Production.